The NFL draft is still a couple of months away, but it's football. And frankly, we talk about football all year round over here at Sports Talk ATL. And when talking about the draft, everyone expects the Atlanta Falcons to go defense. That's what I want them to do. I think they should spend every single resource on the defensive side of the ball. But if we know anything about Terry Fontenot, he loves offense. Maybe he thinks he scouts it better. I don't know what it is because he clearly hasn't scouted defense too well unless it's a professional player from a draft standpoint. So maybe he's more comfortable taking offensive players and he knows how to slot them in to fit a system. That's very well could be true. But there's one area on the offense I can actually live with the Atlanta Falcons addressing, and we talked about it with Zeno a couple of weeks ago, and it's just the offensive line. You have Drew Dahlman at center, right? He's a free agent. We think the Falcons are going to want to bring him back. History would tell us they will pay the guys that they draft and develop. You think he's going to come back, but he might not. You got a lot of holes, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. Caleb McGarry, his contract is up. He can be cut and save a considerable amount of money. Do you trust him protecting Michael Penix long-term? I think he did a good enough job over those first 3 weeks, but it's a legitimate question to get a stalwart Penei Sewell type right tackle if you can find one in the draft. And then obviously you got Jake Matthews, a left tackle that, yes, he's going to be here for the foreseeable or for the next few years, but, getting up there in age. So you do have areas that in the near future are going to have to be addressed, whether it's the draft or free agency. We saw what wins. We talk about it all the time. It's the trenches. It's not just the defensive side of the ball. It's offensive as well. The Falcons need to address the trenches, whether it's offense or defense. That's the one area on offense I can be like, okay, I can live with that if you love a guy.
Not tight end?
Oh, my God. Tyler Warren?
Well, he could play multiple positions. Maybe he could play offensive line, maybe a little quarterback. But this comes from Josh Kendall. I think it was 92.9, maybe 680. I'm not exactly sure. And the host was just throwing up a softball, basically. It was like, no chance we draft a offensive player, thinking he was going to say, no, it's going to be a defender. And then Josh Kendall, who I like very much, I think he's very good at his job, goes, whoa now. He got a little Southern accent, and he said they can draft an offensive lineman. Like, if they fall in love with somebody there at 15, don't rule it out. And Chase just told you the areas. Obviously, the guard duo is locked up with Lindstrom and Bergeron. But like you said, the other three are up in the air. And obviously, center is immediate. Right tackle is, our left tackle. Right tackle for the Falcons is left tackle. It is the premier position on the offensive line for the Atlanta Falcons because Michael Penix is a southpaw. So when you're looking at it long term, obviously, if you want to talk about what gives the Falcons the best chance to win next year, if you're talking, Terry Fontenot's job is on the line. We got to win as many games as humanly possible, and you got to use your resources sparingly. You're better off not drafting an offensive lineman. But if we're just talking in a vacuum, what's best long-term to just get to a Super Bowl period, it might be an offensive lineman. Now, some of them, Will Campbell, 3 years at LSU, he's the top offensive line prospect, probably not going to be on the board for the Falcons when we get there or when we're on the clock. He also played left tackle. I don't know, the whole switching sides. Is that, possible for a lot of these guys? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to tell you one way or another. But some other guys, a Missouri tackle, he was a right tackle. Josh Simmons out of Ohio State, he had a non-contact knee injury, so he's kind of in limbo in terms of where he ranks. He was a left tackle as well. Tyler Booker is that massive guard from Alabama, that All-American guard. Can he slot over to center? Again, these positional changes, I'm not smart enough to tell you if they can or can't do it. Generally, I would subscribe to the notion, play him at their college position. Some people think, Will Campbell's a guard. I don't know any better. But, there's not that obvious, guy who can just slot in other than the Missouri right tackle at right tackle. And there's definitely not one in the first round that's obvious other than Booker, the Alabama guard, that would slot in at center. So while I could understand them if it was a right tackle that you're like, that guy can be Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in football.
Penei Sewell, but yeah.
Sewell's moved back to the left side.
Penei Sewell is
all over the place.
Unbelievable.
He's, I think, one of the first and only to ever earn All-Pro honors at multiple positions along the offensive line. Him and Joe Thuney.
That guy is an absolute freak. I mean, and to think, we always talk about the Micah Parsons.
Well, we were talking about that that cycle. Whereas like, well, can he switch sides to, because we had Jake Matthews, and this was years ago, obviously 2021, and we were talking about it, and like, he was a freak in terms of athleticism, and he came in as, I think he played either a couple of years at left and then moved to right or vice versa, whatever it was, and literally didn't lose a step. Was an all-pro at both. So some guys can do it.
That guy's only like 23 still.
Yeah.
Which is just absolutely.
He came out at 19.
We always talk about
19 years
Patrick
old.
Surtain, and this is just a testament to how valuable. I mean, that guy's changed the Lions organization. I know everyone's going to talk about Jared.
Dan Campbell credited him, not
like
Jared
that
Goff.
guy has changed the Lions organization, and that guy was there for the Falcons when we took Kyle Pitts. We always talk about Jamar Chase. We always talk, but that's how much a game-changing tackle, especially when you're protecting Michael Penix
blindside
from the blind side, can be. So if that opportunity is there, Falcons got to get better in the trenches on both sides. I'm for it. It's the only spot on the offense that I am for drafting in the first round.